Substrate level phosphorylation. So it is a type of process in which ATPs are formed in our body. Actually, there are two mechanisms which are responsible for the synthesis of ATP. The major one is oxidative phosphorylation and the minor one is substrate level phosphorylation. So when ATP formation takes place directly at the level of substrates, it is called as substrate level phosphorylation. So what do you mean by this directly at the level of substrate? This means actually for the formation of ATP by oxidative phosphorylation, NADH and FADH2 which are formed during the metabolism of these carbohydrates, amino acids and fats, they enter into the electron transport chain and these NADH and FADH2 donate their electrons to these complexes of the electron transport chain. After that, the electrons will travel from complexes to finally oxygen. So during this course, the energy released due to traveling of these electrons is used to pump the protons from the matrix to the intermembrane space, where it leads to creation of a proton gradient. This proton gradient is responsible for the joining of ADP and inorganic phosphate that leads to formation of ATP when they return from the intermembrane space into the matrix. So this is actually the complex process where the ATP synthesis happens, and this is the major process. But there is a minor process as we discussed, substrate level phosphorylation. Here, without this complex mechanism which involves the electron transport chain and mitochondria, proton gradient, everything, without all these complex mechanisms, ATP formation directly takes place at the level of substrate itself. So that's why it is called as substrate level phosphorylation. Let us see, for example, in glycolysis. So there is a reaction in which 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is converted to 3-phosphoglycerate. During this reaction, 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is converted to 3-phosphoglycerate. This 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is a high energy compound, and the energy which is there in the 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is directly released there itself in the form of ATP. So the high energy phosphate which is linked to the first carbon of 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is released during its conversion, and that phosphate is used for the formation of ATP. So when it is joined with ADP there. So this is an example for substrate level phosphorylation. And one more example in glycolysis is conversion of phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvate. Here also the high energy phosphate in the phosphoenol pyruvate, during its conversion to pyruvate, this high energy phosphate is released and it binds with ADP to form ATP. So these reactions where ATP is directly formed from the substrate itself without the involvement of electron transport chain is called as substrate level phosphorylation.